Once upon a time, there was a name that ruled the Indian roads Hindustan Motors. Their iconic ambassador car was the face of India's automotive landscape. But what happened to this once dominant giant? Today, we are diving deep into the rise, fall, and the business lessons we can learn from Hindustan Motors' incredible journey. Hindustan Motors was founded in 1942, but its breakthrough moment came in the early years after India's independence. The company started by assembling the Ambassador, which was essentially a licensed version of the Morris Oxford model from the UK. This marked the beginning of a revolution in India's automobile sector. In a country emerging from colonial rule, a national car brand quickly became a symbol of modernity. India was hungry for homegrown products, and Hindustan Motors seized the opportunity. They launched the Ambassador in 1958, and the car quickly became a status symbol. It wasn't just a car, it was the car for government officials, business tycoons, and even the common man who aspired for a taste of luxury. The company's strategy was simple but effective. By positioning Ambassador as the preferred car for government and the elite, they created a perception of quality and trust. This gave Hindustan Motors a massive first mover advantage, dominating both the government and private sectors. The brand was so deeply ingrained in Indian culture that it became synonymous with reliability, comfort, and prestige. From the 1970s to the 1990s, Hindustan Motors experienced its golden years. Ambassador was not just the best selling car in India, it was the car of choice for politicians, bureaucrats, and even the film industry. During this period, Hindustan Motors had captured a lion's share of the market. The company benefited from limited competition, a lack of domestic automobile manufacturers, and government support. India's economic policies in the 1960s and 1970s also favored local manufacturers, which allowed Hindustan Motors to thrive. However, the company's success was largely driven by monopoly power in a protected market. While it was dominating, there was no urgency to innovate or evolve. The Ambassador's design remained largely unchanged for decades, and Hindustan Motors did not prioritize diversifying its product line or adapting to changing consumer preferences. As India's economy opened up in the 1990s, the landscape for automobiles began to change dramatically. Foreign car manufacturers like Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai, and Ford entered the Indian market, offering more affordable, modern, and fuel efficient cars. An Ambassador, despite its legacy, was left behind. The core problem for Hindustan Motors was its refusal to innovate. While Maruti's 800 and Hyundai's Santro were bringing compact, stylish, and affordable options to the market, Ambassador remained largely the same, a large outdated vehicle that was less fuel efficient and no longer suited the needs of an emerging India. This is where Hindustan Motors made one of the biggest strategic mistakes. They failed to adapt to the changing market dynamics. The automotive industry was evolving towards smaller, fuel efficient cars, and Hindustan Motors stuck with a product that had already peaked. As the 2000s progressed, Hindustan Motors' financial troubles deepened. Their flagship model Ambassador was no longer in demand, and the company's inability to pivot to new models or embrace modern technology took its toll. The lack of managerial foresight and the continued reliance on a single product contributed to their downfall. The company's failure to diversify its product portfolio and innovate was exacerbated by poor financial management. The automotive industry had moved toward greater efficiency and automation, but Hindustan Motors was still bogged down by outdated production methods and a stagnant supply chain. This situation highlights a classic business failure: over reliance on a single product, especially in a market where consumer preferences are rapidly changing. Hindustan Motors became a victim of its own past success, failing to recognize that market dynamics are constantly evolving. In 2014, Hindustan Motors announced that it would discontinue the Ambassador model, and by 2017, the company had declared bankruptcy, marking the end of an era for the iconic brand. The demise of Hindustan Motors is a tragic tale of missed opportunities. While other companies embraced new technology, production efficiencies, and changing market demands, Hindustan Motors clung to a past glory that could no longer sustain its future. Hindustan Motors' downfall offers critical business lessons. First, innovation is non-negotiable. In a rapidly changing industry, relying on legacy products without evolution leads to stagnation. Second, adaptation to market trends is key. Hindustan Motors failed to recognize that India's middle class was looking for smaller, more affordable, and fuel efficient cars, a trend they completely missed. Finally, diversification is vital. Relying too heavily on a single product, especially in a competitive and dynamic market, puts a business at risk. Today's car industry is dominated by innovation, electric vehicles, and smart technology. Companies that embrace these changes are thriving. The lesson here is simple. To survive, you must innovate, adapt, and diversify. Hindustan Motors' failure is a reminder that no company, no matter how iconic, is immune to the winds of change. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on the rise and fall of Hindustan Motors? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe and ring the bell for more business breakdowns. See you in the next video.